welcome. My name is Tammy. I have a company called Texas Leather Design, and I make leather handbags and goods. I have developed a leather handbag sewing pattern, and so that's what this video is for today. This is going to be a video tutorial regarding that bag. It is called the April Rene. The prototype that I'm going to show you is a handbag version. You can do a shoulder bag because I believe that's what most people prefer. This handbag has color blocking as option. You could do it all solid. One of my prototypes was completely solid. It's totally up to you. It is a drop-in lining. There is a recessed zipper closure on the top. The back of the bag features an integrated zipper pocket across the back. On the interior of my zipper pocket, I did a little embroidery of my, sorry you can't see well, my logo, just because I like to do just a little extra. I feel like it elevates it a little bit. The handle instructions that I have in the pattern are for doing a contrasting two-part pattern. The length on this prototype is would be the handbag version, which is 26 inches long. If you'd like to do the shoulder bag, I recommend about 30 inches or so. You could also make this a crossbody, although the profile is a bit wide for that, so it's not my preference, but whichever you prefer. I do give instructions where to place your name badge if you're using a little name placket. This prototype has it down too low. So in the pattern, the dimensions are much higher. I give better instructions for that. And then I'm getting away from utilizing those because I've come to find out that there are a few customers that don't prefer branding from small brands on their leather goods. So I put a removable bag charm with my branding instead. And so if they would like to take that off, then that's up to them. They can do that. So the interior of the bag features the typical divided slip pocket, and then also a zippered pocket utilizing a zipper overlay. I was originally going to do this on the exterior, but it's actually quite difficult with leather, and I'll explain why later, which is why I'm doing the integrated zipper pocket instead. If you don't want to make the step to be able to do a pieced back panel with an integrated zipper, I do give you the overlay, and I also give you the full pattern dimension for the back panel, so you could still do a zipper overlay with a zippered pocket there, or change it up however you like. It's totally up to you. This is a box bottom because this is the first pattern that I'm releasing. I wanted this construction to be as simple as possible for any of the people who are new, just getting started out using leather with their industrial equipment. I do recommend an industrial sewing machine. You can try whatever you like. It's free country, thank God, and happy birthday, America. This is going to be our 250th anniversary here coming up on Saturday. So yeah. What am I missing? I think that's basically it. So sorry for the dim lighting with the intro here. The remainder of the video will be much brighter. It's better illuminated. And going forward, I will have better equipment to utilize than what I'm using today, but this is what we have. So this is what we're gonna go with. And this bag features strap connector hardware. I like it better. I feel like it elevates the bag better. You don't have to use fancy strap connector hardware if you don't want to. You can totally do an integrated, like a hidden strap connector, and there are techniques and tutorials out there for how to do that. I'm not perfect with it and I don't get consistent results, so I don't prefer to do that way, but you can certainly do that. I'm utilizing my tester prototype that I just showed you. Had a 3/4 inch wide strap. The bag that we're making today is going to be using this 1 inch width strap connector hardware, and of course the bag feet and all the things. So we'll get into that. Okay. All right. Hang with me. Here we go. Then it can be detectable on your exterior, so you usually try to skive just slightly wider than your seam allowance is. And then this is my upper exterior. It's the top panel. I think I have it labeled as top exterior panel in the pattern. Again, you're going to skive the 1 inch width across the top, because this will be folded down to our 1/2 inch mark, and this is a drop-in lining for ease of construction. So that is the main pieces of our panel. We also have a slip pocket top accent piece, and this I skived the entire thing across the back. As you see, it's not skived super evenly, and that is because my skiver is mad. It does not want to skive this leather this morning. So I've sharpened, resharpened, cleaned out. Now it's making a funny noise. I don't know, I gotta tear it apart. This is for a key minder, so you will want a little 1/2 inch swivel snap to go on the end of this. This is optional. I don't even include it in the cut list. I do tell you in the pattern my dimensions, but basically this is 16 inches long and 1/2 inch wide. I think in the pattern I wrote 15 inches long, but yeah, that's totally optional. You don't have to include that because it can create some bulk on your lining seam, so just be aware of that. You might want to skive the very tip of that if you're worried about bulk. And I'm not going to do a name badge. I'm going to use this little bag charm with a D-ring to attach it to my strap at the end. Getting away from using the physical name tags, because someone told me that people who purchase bags from small designers don't necessarily want to have permanent branding on the bag, and I get it, whatever, it's fine. So I'm making that, I'm putting that on there, and you can remove that. I've made this bag umpteen times, probably about 7 now, since I started drafting the pattern, and it's a fun make. All the pattern pieces are very simple. There's nothing complicated about this. The point of it mainly is so that people that are maybe new to leather can get their feet wet and get some experience doing that, and also other designers that are out there can be aware of the type of requirements that are necessary for me to be able to make a bag out of their pattern using leather. I mainly make my bags 98% out of leather. I'll occasionally use a vinyl if I'm sorry, leather is very messy. If I am crafting for my granddaughter, I will make something out of vinyl for her because she's 6, and yeah, although she does have some of my leather pieces, some smaller ones. Okay, thanks a lot. I'm gonna check this because I entirely recorded a whole video and then the audio was all weird, so I want to avoid that event a second time because I really need to get this done. My real life, I work as an ER nurse, as some of you might know, and I'm running out of time. So let me check this and then I'll be back and we'll get started. So to start out, we're going to work on the strap and see how well slightly stretchy to completely not stretchy leather likes to work together. I am doing the 1-inch strap version. So on my 2-inch wide piece, I'm using my little ruler and I'm making myself a line because I'm terrible at eyeballing. You can eyeball. It's not the end of the world, but I just find that I get more consistent results if I try to give myself guidelines. I'm using my fabulous rainbow ruler that I bought from Lauren at Morvino as my guideline. I like this little ruler because it's short and it's got a lot of really good measurements on it for those that are rulerly challenged like me. And my fancy pen from Barb. I think I ordered some zipper pulls from her at one point. Alright, so down, I'm going to attempt to keep the tape that I'm using out of where I'm going to stitch as much as I can. My machine will sew over tape, but it gets an attitude. This is the Hyper Stick tape from Wawak, so it's extra sticky, and this is the 1/2 inch. And I'm putting this straight down the center of where I just drew my line. Typical strap construction, same as you do for literally every other bag on the universe practically. I don't like to pull my tape, so sorry to delay, but I have to cut it. I have this irrational fear that it's going to start separating from the back and be just this big mess. So, remove your vacuum. I bought these microphone things to use to do this with, and I can't figure out how to make everything work together just yet, so I'm sorry. I'm going to try to speak up as best I'm able to. I start in the middle of my strap and fold just shy of my drawn line to allow for space for the materials to flatten out whenever we press on it, so you don't end up with a ridge down the middle of your strap. This little gadget is a bone folder. The one I have is actually bone. You can get plastic ones too. I'm kind of a weirdo. I like natural materials, so things like leather, wool, and I believe that we should, if we are going to use an animal for something, not to get political, but try to utilize as much of it as we are able to, so we're not wasting him or her, it. So we're respecting it, basically. Same thing on the opposite side. You can also use the little heavy roller thing. I have one, mine's squeaky. So it may or may not be irritating to y'all to listen to. So I'm gonna try to see what I can get away with. Sorry, I have little yappy dogs and any little bump or bang and they alert. I'm sorry for that. Sounds like someone's working outside. We're moving in, moving out. Alright, so once you get that stuck down, I did attempt to skive this entire piece. Like I said earlier, my skiver and I were not getting along this morning. So it did not skive perfectly. I think I am going to hit this with this squeaky roller. Alright. I'm going to apply a strip of 1/4 inch tape down my accent piece. I find it's a little easier if you put it down the center of your accent rather than trying to line it up exactly in the middle of your strap. My tape roll is not pristinely clean because it's a real roll of tape that gets real use. And as y'all know, all double-sided tape clings to every little thing that it touches. So it might be dirty. Sorry if that offends you. Alright. I'm going to wind up trimming this strap shorter. I believe I feel like a 32 inch strap max should probably be sufficient. So I think I'm going to wind up trimming this down a little bit because I believe I cut it a hair long. Try to align this center accent as best you're able to down the center of your main strap piece. Again, I'm not fabulous at eyeballing, so I'm probably gonna have to readjust this here in just a second. Just trying to give it a fighting chance at working. Love the way that this leather looks together. The main exterior is kind of this greenish gray. It's got that sheen to it, and then when you take it outside, there are all these little metallic flecks in it. I've never seen anything quite like it. I got it from Tandy actually, and I don't think they have anymore. It was called Midland Smooth Designer Side. I think there's still some in Canada, so if you're Canadian, you can probably still get it. I also bought one of the red ones. It looks red on their website, but in person to me it looked more like a lighter garnet. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. If I had seen it in person, I definitely wouldn't probably have purchased it. But I was at the mercy of purchasing online. My local stores here in Houston were out of that hide, and I had to order it from, I think it was one of the stores out in Carrollton, something like that. They still had some, and they were really sweet. They shipped it to me and everything. It was nice. Okay, I am going to realign this part right here because I got too close to my edge. It's easier to align this correctly when you're looking at it straight on instead of from the side profile. All right. And I will be using my little cow magnet. I actually did a reel showing this little silly thing. It's very hard to find a thick, long magnet for sale on Amazon for some reason. Most of the edge guides that I find, they're very short, and I wanted something more elongated, so they suggested this, as my option. They call it a cow magnet. It's coated, and they actually feed this to cattle because evidently they will eat pieces of baling wire, staples, barbed wire, all kinds of things. Whatever gets mixed up in between them and their food is what they eat. So that tries to attract the metal and catch it, you know, with the magnet, rather than them getting an injury from eating something that they shouldn't be. So sounds cruel, but at the same time I can totally see why they would do it. Alright, so let me just measure real quick and see my little measuring tape. I bought my machine from Sunny Sewing in Dallas. We're out of Magnolia. Yeah, this is way longer. It's like 32. So I'll save my little scrap. All right, so we're gonna go with 32 for our strap. I'm using some thread from Size Swag first for the top of this. I have a spool of her dark spruce. That's this one right here. And it matches the exterior leather pretty darn well. So I'm going to use that as my contrast stitch. We're going to go with a 5mm stitch length on this. You can back stitch here. Threads. Because the end of this is going to be encased in strap end when we're done, so it doesn't matter. I'm not pressing that magnet against my foot. I'm merely just holding my fingers against it and the material to keep it from pushing it out of the way. This is literally the only way that I can. I've tried like the Ouija board hands and all the things that they tell you, but I just don't have really consistent results doing it that way. This way works, so. I'm older and my patience level is not fabulous for drawing complications, so there's that. It looks pretty good down one side. Now we will do our other. Same thing. So far, it seems like the kangaroo and this Crompton are getting along. I'm scared to say that out loud before I'm done. Which is good because I didn't have anything that was this chocolate color. And I really wanted to pick up on the earthy tones of that main panel, so yay. Alright, so that's pretty awesome. I'm happy with it. Let's see it right here. Okay, y'all, so now we're going to work on our front panel. So I've prepared my pieces, all your pieces after you skive them. Hopefully your skiver does a better job than mine. I got in a skiver fight with mine this morning. So anyway, after you skive them, mark all your lines, and on the 3/8 inch side of your upper exterior and upper lining, go ahead and make your center notch there. It doesn't have to be huge, just a little nip, or you could mark it with a pen, whatever you prefer. To start out with, I'm using my front right panel and my center accent piece matched with the right sides together. I'm going to clip those. Just to help hold them in place. I did switch my thread out to the lovely teddy bear brown. I don't know if that's what it's actually called. It's just like a sienna brown color that was on Amazon. And we are gonna stitch these two together at the 3/8 inch seam allowance. Now, if y'all are in the team bottom stitch, or excuse me, top stitch the bottom of your bag. Sorry, I can't talk. You will have wanted to skive the exterior edges of your upper lining and your exterior pieces on the edge at a 1/2 inch instead of the 3/8, and I explain all that information in the pattern, so be aware of that. Pay attention to those seam allowances if that's the pathway that you're going. I'm not going to top stitch the bottom of my bag, and therefore I'm also not going to include it in this video tutorial, but there are written instructions in the pattern. I'm using my construction stitch length of 4, which I believe this is a millimeter measurement. I believe it's 4 millimeters. But yeah, stitch length number 4. And you can back stitch here. It helps me to orient this in the proper direction by writing my little notes to myself on the back of the panel in the way in which I'm able to read it upright. That's how I know which direction it goes. And I'm trying to stitch on my guideline. This being your front panel and then your back panel, those two areas you really need to try to stitch accurately. I did also, in one of the bags that I tested for myself, stitch wild on purpose, just to see if I could correct it and do workarounds to fix it, and I was still able to make corrections in order to make the bag successfully. So it's not the end of the world if you don't sew 100% accurate, and I don't always, but try. You'll have a better result if you're able to stitch accurate rather than not. It'll be less extra steps for yourself, put it that way. Trim your threads. Now, I don't know how kangaroo is going to fold. This is very thin, so it did not get skived, but it is a firm leather. So we're about to find out together. This next step is face down. You want to fold your seams open so that you can top stitch on your panel. Let's get my little seam roller here to try to train this. Another reason why you don't want to use a larger seam stitch length than 4 because you might see your stitches more easily. Once you try to fold that open, you're going to press it down against your table, and you can feel kind of with your fingers. Now on leather, I don't stitch at super tight seam allowance, so I'm not ever going to do an exact 1/8. I will do, when I say 1/8 on leather, I'm doing a slightly wider seam allowance than 1/8, so just know that. The reason is because leather is rigid and it doesn't want to fold. It doesn't want to go how you want it to go, so you have to kind of work within its comfort zone, if that makes sense. I know I'm sounding crazy here, but promise. It works out better if you do what I'm saying. So don't try to go exactly 1/8. Go a little bit chunky on your 1/8 on your top stitches. If you're using vinyl or some other material that is thin and readily folds easily, then go hog wild. You can stitch at 1/8 all day and it's not going to matter. Your materials will acquiesce to all of your requests. As I heard on a movie once. Okay. It folded easier than I thought it was going to. They actually use kangaroo hide for lace because of the lack of stretch that it has. So I thought, I don't know about pairing these stretchy thing with a non-stretchy thing. This one we are learning together, y'all. I am using contrasting thread, not because I stitch perfectly every single time, but I just like the way contrasting thread looks. It's perfectly okay if you want to do matchy-matchy. I've made this bag with no color blocking, just all the same materials. And I think I still did contrast thread, but yeah. So make it in whatever way speaks to your heart. You're the designer, you do it. You pick it. Okay, so this is how it came out. I think that's just gorgeous, y'all. All right, now we're going to put our front left panel on the opposite side of our center accent strip. So center accent, front left. Match up your edges. And flip those together. We're going to do the same thing. There's nothing in this bag that's hard. There's things that are different, a little, but nothing hard. So you can totally do it. And I stitched with my stretchy stuff down last time and it worked out okay, so I'm going to do it again. Stretchy stuff down and switch back to your 4mm. For your construction part. And I am not a fast seamstress, y'all. Sewer. Bag maker. I don't make anything fast. So I apologies if this video bores the devil out of you and I'm saying things that are like, duh, everyone knows that. Just speed up. Fast forward. It'll be fine. I won't be offended if you fast forward. Because I want you to only see the stuff that you need and move on with your life. We got things to do, man. I can already see there's a little bit of stretch difference between my soft leather and my kangaroo. It's okay, we'll just trim it if we need to. But don't do any of your trimming until after you're done sewing your panel. Because things stretch and sometimes they even themselves out. I know that sounds weird, but it totally is a thing. So wait until you're done stitching your panel, and then if you see any of your edges that look like, oh, that might be extending a little bit past where you think it's supposed to, because all these things should line up, then you trim it then, okay? All right, same deal. Flatten your seam out. I feel like he wants some bone folder. Flip this over. Your upper stitches are always going to look better than your bobbin stitches 99%. So do your top stitch from your right side. Okay. And back to the 5mm stitch length. One of my bags that I was working on, I totally forgot to do that, and I was like, haha. But see, y'all didn't see that one, so I'm telling on myself. I know. Same thing, chunky 1/8, okay? Chunky 1/8 for leather. Same thing, when we top stitch this bag at the end, we're not top stitching at 1/8. I'm not. Y'all can. I'm not gonna do that. I've done it. And unless your bag is dead on 110% perfectly lined up, it doesn't come out right. And you're going to wind up with punctures in places you don't want. I've had the needle go through the top edge of an alternating layer before. Like, it's been a hot mess. We don't want that. So I'm not stitching that way. I'm also using a drop down edge guide on my cylinder arm. You don't have to have a cylinder arm machine to make this bag, so don't freak out. You don't have to. And I did not have all this stuff like from day one that I started. I actually bought my very first machine was from Tandy Leather, and it was the Cowboy 747 or something. I don't know, I might be saying the number wrong. But yeah, they're a little flatbed. And I still own that machine. I upgraded since then. But that's the first one that I had. And then after that, I bought a cylinder arm, not a 1341. I think I bought it from, like, my mind says like maybe Gold Star or something, but it was a, like the FOF copy. And I used that for a few minutes, and then I realized, you know what your issue is? It's not that you don't have a cylinder arm. It's not that you need a better flatbed. It is that you needed a skiver. I did not understand that I needed to take the thickness out of my leather to get the seams to fold over and do what I want them to do, like this. Skyver is the key to the universe for leather, for the most part. Now, I've seen people use super thin lining leather before, and they have made things out of it, or garment weight, even, and they do okay. But it's not for me. I need the ability to take flesh off the back of it. Whether this is the grain side, the top part, and then under this stuff that we shaved off is the flesh side. In case you needed a leather lingo lesson-ish. Okay. And I'm not a guru. I don't profess to be that, so please don't come at me. I'm not saying that at all. All right, so this is where we would be figuring out what our center is, but because I'm using this thin kangaroo leather, I don't want to put a mark in him. Normally though, you would mark the center of that little panel, and then you're going to line up the 3/8 edge that you marked off right here, the 3/8 one, with the top of your panel. You want to orient this so the wide, I don't know if you can see, let's see if I can make it. Okay, you have a panel that's wider and a panel that is skinnier. When it's facing you, the wider panel should be on your right, like this. So wide on the right. And then you want to put make a stack, so right sides together with the 3/8 inch edge up and centered the best you can. And like I said, materials, especially leather and some vinyls, have stretch to them. So it is possible that the very edge of your panel and the width of this upper top panel are off a little bit. It is okay. You can trim it evenly and it's not going to matter, and no one's ever going to know. So don't worry about it. But don't trim the extra until after we sew this together. See, like right here, I'm pairing this, and it looked like these were dead on, and then when I look at it, no, I lined it up a little bit off, so I need to unclip and straighten it out and make it more even, just like that. Go back and reclip. I'm only a little bit OCD, y'all. Not completely OCD. Obsessive compulsive. I just want to do a good job at everything. I want to do a good job as a nurse. I want to do a good job as a mom, as a wife, as a bag maker, all that. Okay. So, construction stitch length, and we're going to stitch across that top 3/8 inch section now to put these panels together. Okay, so back stitch, because it's going to not be seen. Try to follow your line if you drew one. Try to write this pattern in such a way that there will be no fighting with your materials. If there is any, it's minimal. want you to enjoy making it. Not be like, oh, I hated that. None of that back stitch. Okay, now let's talk about bulk. First time I remember seeing anything about reducing bulk, it was in a knotted threads pattern. Shannon, thank you. That's all I can tell you. Literally, I'm not going to say that she's the only one that has that information in there. I believe that there are other designers that do as well, but that's the first place I remember seeing it. So on all these corners right here, let's try to get, hello, yeah, okay. All these corners, this is going to fold up and you're going to top stitch. So what you're going to have is this bottom layer down here and this top layer up here. And then by the time you fold those two over top of each other, guess what? That's 4 layers together. So we don't want that, because that makes our machine angry and it makes it hard for us. And we wind up having to hire a hump jumper over and over, and I'm just not into that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do bulk reduction. So on this upper top section, right here in this corner, we're going to snip off this bulk, and then when that folds up, that's only going to be 3 layers instead of 4, and you're not going to see your little snip after you do it once you top stitch it down. Everywhere in this pattern where there are edges like that that are going to meet and then be top stitched, we're going to snip that corner, this right here, not the whole thing, just that corner. Okay, you're going to snip that off, and then when it folds up, you're not going to see it. It's going to be flat against the snip out part, is going to be flat against our piece, and we're going to top stitch across. Okay, in other areas of your panel, and if you are using thick materials like thick vinyl, like marine vinyl or something like that, you may also want to trim little V notches where these seams are going to meet. So whatever's even with where this seam and this seam is going to be on this upper portion, so you would notch out a little V there and notch out a little V there, not from that piece where the seam is, but from this upper chunk, the top panel. Okay, I'm not doing it because this material is thin, so I don't feel like I need it there, because there's not going to be a subsequent seam sewn over it. We're just going to top stitch, so to me it's no big deal, but it's up to you. So now that we have our bulk trimmed out of that, we're going to fold. I know I said leather and fold in the same sentence. It's crazy. I'm going to fold this top panel with that seam going upwards. So when you're folding this, your seam is up. You know why it's up? Because we don't want to fight this seam together and this seam together. We're not bending seams like that backwards ever. We're going with the flow. Okay, so the seam is pointing up. I'm going to flatten that down with our fingers or our little rolly, just to help it start thinking about laying the way we want it. Sorry for the squeak. I don't know if this thing needs wax, oil. I don't know what to put on it. But, yeah. Alright, and we're changing back to our 5mm stitch length. And we are going to top stitch on our upper top panel of the chunky 1/8 that I told you because we're doing leather. Lower seam pointing up, okay? Behind your panel. Up, up, up. Your top stitching on top of that. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to like talk down to y'all. I just really want you to understand. Because if you understand, I think you're gonna love making this bag. And your customers are gonna love buying it. I sold 3 of my testers just without even trying, man. I just posted a photo of whatever I was messing with and people were like, can I buy that? So I feel like it's been pretty well received. It's classy looking. It's not huge, but it's not tiny. It's a good large, medium large-ish bag. Also, if you're pulling on your leather, do it gently to straighten it out, but don't manhandle on it because you can stretch it and then it's going to lay funny. I feel like that went wide right there, and I don't know if I like that, but that's what we got. I think that's one of those edges that didn't scribe super well. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully that doesn't bite us later. We will find out when we get ready to assemble. This is what she is looking like so far. It's pretty classy looking. Okay, now we're gonna get ready and do our back panel. Okay, so now we're going to work on our back panel. The first thing that we need to do that is gather our pieces. So you're going to need both of your back zipper pocket lining pieces. I think it's just labeled zipper pocket lining, so there's nothing special. It's the same for an interior or an exterior zipper pocket, so you don't have to have different measurements. Your back panel bottom, your back panel top, your right and left panel sides. You should have 2 of those. And then you also need your zipper tape. Like I said earlier, I am using metal zipper tape. So we'll be talking about that. There's some special things that we need to do in order to use this in the way in which we're planning on using it. You want your zipper piece to be as wide as your lining, so you can measure that out using your lining piece or however you like. In order to cut this zipper, because those teeth are metal, I'm taking it and folding it and pinching those zipper teeth together. The reason I'm doing that is to separate where the fabric and the teeth are. We're going to do this slowly and carefully. Continue pressing, and you're just easing your scissors through that area, and they will the teeth will separate, and then you can just clip it without damaging your scissors. Alright. First thing I want you to do is singe the ends. You're going to singe these ends twice. Hopefully you're not in a room where it is windy with the fan like mine. It was warm in my house earlier, so I think some of the afternoon sun kind of hits this window. Alright. The purpose for singeing the ends of the zipper in advance is because we're going to pull some teeth from this zipper tape, and when we do that, it is going to cause the tape to fray. It seems to fray less whenever you singe it first and then singe it again when you're finished. I'm using a dark piece of zipper tape, so I will be using my silver marking pen in order to mark where my seam allowance is, and we're going to remove teeth from the top and bottom part of our zipper on both ends at the 3/8 inch seam allowance. This is a tool from Tandy. I probably paid entirely too much for it. I'm sure you can locate it on Amazon. They call it a zipper teeth nipper. We're not nipping any teeth. You can cut your zipper teeth with this tool. Don't. It's nothing in the world if you do, but you literally don't need to do that. You don't need pieces of metal flying in all directions near your eyes to make a mess or anything else. What we're going to do with this tool is we're going to use this on our teeth and pull these teeth out one at a time. They are shaped like a U, and they're kind of clamped around the fabric of your zipper, and so we're just pulling them straight off of that tape. So take your little ruler, mark with something you can see. 3/8 inch is in, adjacent with whatever tooth that lines up to. And I pull all the teeth behind that mark. This mark is not going to be seen. Well, I'm not going to say that. It could be seen, but it's going to be so small that most likely no one will notice. If they do, they're looking way too hard at your bag. So that's a whole nother issue. Okay. So now we have our little marking to go by. I'm going to separate the end just by pulling it apart, just like you do with any zipper before you put your pull on. But in this instance, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to show y'all this, but I'm going to try. You're going to isolate one tooth with your tool, just like that. Let me show you like this, and you're going to pull that tooth straight off. I can't do it way apart away from myself, so I'm going to pull it towards my body so I have more leverage. And that's it. See, I have a little tooth right here. You can do that on either side up to your mark. I think for 3/8 on a number 5 zipper, it's around 5 teeth ish. Could be 6. Don't quote me. Mileage may vary. That's my new saying whenever there's a circumstance. It could be different. Okay, so I'm not going to take that tooth. I'm looking at that, and that really looks like I want to take that tooth. We're going to walk our machine over the section. See there, that made that click sound. That's not me cutting, that is it slipping. Sorry, my husband is on the phone in the other room talking very loudly in his manly voice, so you may be able to hear him, and I apologize if you are able to. This place is tiny. Okay, so see how frayed that is? We're going to snip off a lot of that fray crazy, and we're going to singe it down. I'll do the singe in just a minute. And we're going to be, when you do your singe, you're going to singe on that inner area where we pulled those teeth from and across the ends, just like normal. now do the other side. One of my markings is kind of on the light side, so I'm going to mark it a little bit darker so it's easier for me to keep track of it. I'm saving, oh my god, sorry. I am saving my zipper teeth for another project because they're brass and I think they look neat in a pile. So they will never go back on this tape. There's a special machine you have to put it on there to begin with. But I'm going to use them for something else. So I have them in little baggies stashed back here behind my table. I'm going to take that one too right there. Slip and off. Alright, so it doesn't take an incredible amount of upper body strength, and I certainly don't have an incredible amount, but can take a little bit of oomph if you're challenged in any way. Have somebody help you. It's okay to ask for help. Doesn't make you less, it makes you smart if you ask for help when you need it. Alright, so that's singed. I had to singe under my table because of this fan. Also, leather is very messy, so you might want to keep a lint roller handy because the flesh side of leather sheds a lot. Which is why my table now looks like a disaster. And we're going to keep our little zipper tool handy because we're going to use this in a couple of spots on this bag. I'm using my notes for this section because my little mind doesn't want to commit it 100% to memory. I don't know why, but it doesn't. I'm like, what did I tell me to do again? Yeah. It's okay, read your notes. Do it right instead of guessing and then being upset that you messed it up. And if you do mess it up, no big deal. Rip it out and do it over. Okay. I know some people are afraid to venture into leather because they think it's super duper expensive and you do need a few extra tools, but when you start adding the price per square inch of some of these sides of leather versus the price per square inch of these super custom printed vinyls that are out there, if those are the materials you're using, you're very close to the price of leather. So just saying. All right, I'm taking my pull and I'm going to go ahead and put it on here and pull it all the way off the opposite end just to put these teeth back together so we can make a nice clean zipper pocket. You can put it on and leave it on after you get your teeth back together. But I find that I get a nicer pocket if I put it on at the end. Now it's more difficult to put it on at the end, but up to you. It's totally still doable. I'm gonna pause this. Okay, he seems like he might be done talking for the moment. So for this section, we want the back panel bottom right side up. If you are going to go ahead and have your zipper pull on your zipper, you're going to put your zipper pull on and then put that with the right side together. So back panel bottom, right side down with the zipper. So it'll be a wrong side zipper facing up. And then the lining section that is not embroidered for me is going to be the next piece that goes down. Now on the back of my lining piece, I am going to draw myself a 1/4 inch line because, like I told y'all earlier, I am spatially challenged, and I promise you I will mess this up. Also, you want your zipper foot for this. I know I said the bad word, zipper foot, but I'm telling you, if you put your zipper foot on, you'll get a more accurate seam here, and you will have to do less trimming at the end. So totally up to you. So I'm gonna change that out real quick. Typically doesn't take that long. We'll see how long it takes me today. It's worth it to change your foot for this. And I don't know, I guess this is my right side zipper foot. I don't really know the names, and they're not marked, and I hear it right side, left side. This is when it's on my machine, what's left of the foot is on the right. So there you go. And these were bought aftermarket, so I don't think they're 100% for this machine, but they seem to go on okay. All right, so now what we're doing is we're adding that lining piece on top, right side down. Okay, so we're making a little sandwich stack here. Oh, I neglected to tell y'all something. Sorry. We're supposed to have double-sided tape here. Ah, Tammy. Apologies. On the top of your panel. If you're reading your pattern, good job. If you're trying to ad-lib it, don't. Look at the pattern. My little tape roll is done right here. Another one. Luckily, this tape came off of Amazon. It's the TSS Art brand. I like it because it holds, but it's not so sticky that it messes with my machine too much. But if you do a whole lot of layers, yeah, it could aggravate your machine. All right. Okay, there's supposed to be double-sided tape on your top edge of your lining pieces. It cannot work. Whenever these tape rolls are brand new, they're like so huge that they're hard for me to use. I'm never happier until this tape roll is about halfway gone. Then it's more my width. But if it was only half, then you'd be fussing that it's running out fast. See, there's no making you happy. Like my hands aren't that big. This one, you're going to peel the backing from this tape as you go. I just find it works better. If you try to peel the backing off of all this stuff, it gets all tangled, and it might anyway, but it's worse if you have to contend with multiple layers of double-sided tape without the backing at one time, for me. Okay. Now, back to what we were doing. So, back panel bottom, right side up. Remove your backing from the tape. I hear that phone ringing. I'll start loud talking again. My husband dispatches for a fuel delivery company, fuel trucking company, 3 days a week. So we get to fight for the space. All right, so back panel bottom, right side up. Zipper, if you have your pull attached, right side down. If not, either side is fine. This is a two-way metal zipper, two-way zipper tape. I'm going to turn this around so I can try to line this up more straight. I try to minimize how many times I put it on and take it off. Also, because I feel like it can cause it to wave if you're too flagrant with how many times you're putting it up and down and up and down. Also, take a look at your 3/8 inch edges here and just kind of eyeball and see if they're sort of even on right and left side. That's the goal anyway. And then now we're taking that opposite lining piece. If you are embroidering, that lining goes on last, so the plain one. If you're being extra, put that piece last. So this will go down, and this is also going on this top edge. I just want it where I can see it, hopefully. And this is right side down with your seam marked on the back, if you're marking your seam. Maybe you've been sewing forever and you don't need to mark a seam. I've been sewing for over 20 years, bags only since 2012, but I still mark it because I'm spatially challenged. Okay, back to this. So, construction seam allowance of 4. And we're going to sew across this line. You can back stitch at the beginning and the end. Again, I do highly recommend a zipper foot for this. I've seen people do it with a skinny foot, but I cannot get an exact 1/4 inch seam allowance with a skinny foot. I have not been successful at that. You may also want your thread to be coordinating here. It is possible that the stitching will be seen on the inside edge of your zipper pocket after we top stitch it. I don't think contrasting thread looks bad, but you might not like it. Okay, and there's back stitching. If I didn't say that, I probably said it. But I might not have said it, but we might. Alright, so now that you have that, we are going to flip the lining over and press it down wrong sides together. We want to get this ready so we can top stitch on our leather side. But don't do it. You're going to want to go, oh, and pull this. Don't pull it. If you pull it, you're going to get a wavy zipper. So don't. Don't do it. Don't do it. Alright, so I'm pulling my lining and easing that edge up behind there. Trying to trick my leather into folding without causing me to pull on this zipper. I am going to take the little bone folder piece here. Try to help this lay down from the back side. I'm just pressing it, if you can see, I'm just pressing it up against that edge and sort of pushing here, just to try to get it started in the right direction. And this being the waterproof canvas, it tends to fold a lot easier than some other types of fabric. That water resistant canvas folds amazing, almost like paper, but it's expensive, so I don't usually use that very much. I have used it like twice, but it's pricey. Okay, so we want to get this down like it's supposed to be and line up your edges of the lining and the side of your bottom like that. And this, and then when you flip this over, kind of just eyeball and see how it did with the turning. You'll probably have to re-clip once you finish getting this flattened out. This does take a little work to flatten this, especially if your skiver was being ugly and it didn't skive your panel super nicely. Could have thickness there. Yeah, I need to readjust this corner to do that. But yeah, really try not to pull that zipper, okay? I want this to come out pretty, so y'all be like, wow, look at that, it's beautiful. Okay, now we're gonna top stitch on the lining. Yep. Okay, at the chunky 1/8. These industrials take some getting used to because you have to hold your threads so they don't get angry. And change your stitch length to 5. This leather is on the soft side, so you could have difficulty also with your traction because you're only using zipper foot on it. Just do the best you can. We'll switch back to our regular foot after we get the other half of this section. You're like combining this so that it becomes one little zipper pocket unit. Top stitched that. This side right here, trim your threads. So we've got this section again back this way, and we are going to take our back panel top right here, this piece, and we're going to have it wrong side up. So peel your tape. Backing, not the tape, the backing. And again, I'm flipping this edge over so I can see correctly. You want to line that up with those edges, even with the raw side of your zipper, the unsewn side of your zipper, and also right and left sides of your lower panel. Okay, so get that like that, like this, like this, like this. Sorry, I talk a lot. Hopefully it's not too annoying. It just feels weird to have like dead silence. Okay, see here I have a little gap and it's hanging over here, so I need to realign. What did I tell you about messing with this zipper too much? Try not to do that. Okay. Let me just look at it and see, is it lined up better this time? Yes. Okay. And again, raw edge, top edge, raw edge. There. Okay, so now you have this section just like this. We're gonna flip it over, just like that. Okay, you make that noise too, and that helps. Then we're gonna take our section of the lining with our embroidery, if you're doing embroidery, if not, your other lining piece. We're gonna make that same 1/4 inch guideline for ourselves with our fancy Genie Designs pen. And I have Kasai ones also. I really like these pens. I'm gonna say something else too about these pens. These are ballpoint pens, they're not gel. And in this instance, they are great for what we're doing because you don't want to use a gel pen while you're sewing. You know why? Because gel pens make messes because they smear. They're not permanent like a ballpoint. I mean, they are permanent. They're permanently messy too. Hold on. This has decided it doesn't want to write. It's okay. I was just talking that pen up and it got shy. We'll use our silver one. It's like, no, now I'm not using it. It's the first time I've ever seen it not right. I was like, what are you talking about? You've called me out in public. I'm not writing now. Okay. The silver pen will probably smear too. Luckily, this is not a pivotal part. Okay, so back to our stack. So now we're putting these lining pieces right side together, removing the backing from our tape on the top edge of our right side of our lining there. And then we are going to match that up with the raw edge of this zipper, okay? This pocket is a showstopper. It's very pretty and I love it very much. Okay, so we're gonna put this edge down just like this. There we go. There. Okay, now everybody's in line. Back to our 4mm stitch length. And then in a second, we're going to do something weird. And you're going to be like, why are you doing that? I have a reason. There's always a reason. Okay. I don't know how weird it is. It's odd. It's unusual. But it's necessary. Okay, so still with our zipper foot on, you can kind of feel where your zipper is underneath your stack here. All the way across. I'm trying to be careful how I do this. make sure we actually get this correct. Okay. So that is all secured together. And then now we're going to pull this open. But before we do our top stitch, we're going to have both these zipper pocket lining sections together here. And you see how you have like this little 1/2 inch-ish overhang? So we're going to take that section, let's take our little clips off here, and we're going to fold it up so we can encase the other part of our lining. And we're going to stitch across this. I'm going to clip it for this moment so it doesn't come unclipped. But we're not just going to sew straight across. So let me show you what we need to do so we don't mess up our pretty integrated zipper pocket. Okay. Like this. We need to, so we have our stack here. Okay. We clipped the bottom of our lining there. See how the flap is? That's going to be in the way. So we're going to take that whole section of the leather out of the way. And we got our upper little piece, this piece out of the way. And we're going to stitch across only the bottom of our pocket. Okay? You can go ahead and switch your foot back to the regular one now, because we are sorry, I have a bunch of, that tray has become like a little sling spot for me, but I need everything that's in it, so I can't like clean it out. I know. It's another reason why I don't really run around with a bag very much, because I start going, oh, I need this, and I need this, and I need that. And then I wind up with like 700 things. So I either have to carry a really small bag so I can control myself, or probably not one. Okay, so we're just gonna sew across lining only while your exterior is pushed to the side, okay? And 4mm stitch length is good for this, and you can do whatever seam allowance you want. We're just literally sealing the bottom of our pocket lining here. Also, if you're putting your name badge, you need to go ahead and do it before we do our next section. I meant to tell y'all that, and I blanked out and did not do that. But from the bottom, measure up 4 1/4 inches. That's going to seem like that's going to be too high. I did one at 3 inches from this raw edge, and it was too low. So 4 1/4 is going to be where the sweet spot and centered, or however you want it. Okay. All right. Here we go. I'm not putting one on because, like I said, I'm using the bag charm instead, so people can take it off. But they can't take off my pretty embroidered pocket. But nobody will see it because it's on the inside of their bag. Haha. How about that? Unless they start telling me I don't want any branding, then maybe that's a thing. Or maybe I won't sell my stuff. How about that? I won't. Customer's always right. Okay. So now that you sealed off the bottom of this pocket, that's all closed in, and you have put your name badge here, if you're using it, out of the way of your pocket so you don't punch holes in your pretty pocket. You have your zipper now. So now we're going to flip this panel up. This is our back panel top. And try to flatten that out so that you get a good steam there. I think I am going to use my bone folder thing. Like I said, you can buy cheaper plastic ones. You don't have to buy this one. You could use whatever, a dowel. It doesn't matter. I just need something that's kind of rigid. I like this though because this curve, sorry, right here, lets me kind of get what I need at an angle. So it has its little home in my makes. All right, so back to chunky 1/8 and 5mm stitch length, okay? Then we're gonna get to the dangerous part. You're like, dangerous? What are you talking about? The sewing over the edges for our zipper. Now, I sewed the bottom of this kind of close, didn't I? Let's see if I can get close to the top to sort of make it match. Again, you can gently pull your leather, don't stretch it. If it's got give to it, just gently make it conform, because we don't want wavy in our zipper or our panel or our vinyl. Some of those faux vinyls, they look very real. Tulip Bees faux real. I've looked at some of y'all's bags in vinyl and I'm like, is that leather? Like if I gotta ask, yeah. It's pretty spot on. Alright, so we're gonna do one other little thing before we get to the wild, dangerous stuff. Okay, that should be good for little notes. I'm going to make a little mark with my silver pen, just kind of where my lining ends. We're going to put a basting stitch on the edge of this. Now, you can baste down this whole side. It's not going to matter. The whole thing is going to be encased in your seam, so you're not going to see it. So if that's easier for you, do that. But really, it's not necessary. So I'm just kind of going like off the edge where the top of the zipper starts down to where I know the pocket ends for my basting stitch by making a little mark here. You do whatever you like, okay? I want you to be happy. When you make this, I want you to be like, oh, I love making that bag. That's what I want. All right. So I'm gonna baste, and again, I don't do anything exactly at 1/8. So chunky 1/8 in, above, right at where the top of that zipper starts, down to the side here. We're just trying to make this like a solitary unit, so that it isn't tempted to like shift and shuffle and change and whatever. This also closes your zipper pocket under there. So we don't want stuff shifting around. You have to be part of the whole, my dear. All right, so all of this is closed right here. We're going to do the same thing on the other side, and then that should fully encase all of our edges. A little fruit fly in here. How'd that go? Or a gnat. I think it's a gnat. We do have sand in Texas. It's not a lot. Well, that's a lie. We have sandy clay mostly. Feel like a lot of it. As you go further west, then you're sand, like desert. I did have to push my panel here a little bit because it tried to not sew where I wanted it to, because it got to that ridge. Okay. bleep, just like that. So now this is all, oh, you know what? I just did something hilarious. Not the end of the world, but you need to put your zipper pull on here. Oh goodness, Tammy, how silly. So seam ripper, pull this apart a little bit. Yeah, I'm gonna have to rebase this in just a second after I get the pull on. How funny is that? Yeah, make sure you put your pull on before you do your basting. Dang sure isn't the first time I've ever had to use the seam roller ripper. It won't be the last. Okay, also makes it trickier to put that pull on because now you have your pocket all sewn down. You silly girl. Whoops. Alright, we'll just pull that apart. There we go. I know. You're like, how many bags have you made? A couple. No, lots. A whole lot. Alright, let me see about getting this. So yeah, this is why I said it's a little trickier to add your pull after, but it's totally still doable, and doing it this way keeps it to where I don't have that little funny bump in my zipper tape when I am making this pocket. So I prefer it. There we go, on the right. He is talking so loudly, y'all. I'm so sorry. I'm probably gonna have to like do a voiceover on this whole section because he's just gonna be like loud talking the whole time. Okay, so we got our pull on. That is a mosquito? What the hell? This is like Wild Kingdom in this room. Okay, so he pulls on, kind of put it to the middle here. And now you can rebase this edge if you messed up like me to make it. Luckily this is in the seam allowance, so it won't be seen. But I want to avoid punching unnecessary holes. Sorry, y'all, I got excited and got ahead of myself. Better. Now what we're gonna do is the spicy part. So you have two of these side panels. They're gonna go matched with this little pocket section that you just made, right side together, and you're gonna sew at that 3/8 on either side. I'm gonna match these from my top, even if you have extra, because either your materials stretched or you did not use your zipper foot, and your seam allowance isn't exactly the 1/4 inch. There could be a million reasons why. No big deal. If you have excess on the bottom of this unit after you get this assembled, it's okay. We're just going to trim that bottom edge off straight, okay, just to make our panel even. So it's not going to matter. Like right here, I can actually even see, and I used my zipper foot. I can see on the edge of this panel, it's trying to be just a little bit extra. It's okay. It's not going to matter. We're going to even it up. All right, so when you get to your section where you're about to cross where your zipper is, we're walking our machine over that section if you're using metal zipper, okay? Very important. We don't want to wha-bam our needle, for lack of a better word. I don't want you to injure yourself, number one. I don't want you to injure your machine. And I also don't want you to mess up your bag. So, most likely, because of the prep that we did by pulling the teeth, you won't touch your zipper area, but it's possible that it could. So that's why I say we're gonna walk, okay? So right here is where my zipper starts. I can kind of feel it under my finger. I'm following my little guideline on my panel. This is a 4mm stitch length that we're using here. So far, all I feel is normal things. I haven't felt any. Something made a funny noise right there. Might have been some of the tape that we used on the top of our pieces. And we're past that zipper section on this side. We're going to continue down our seam. Get this panel assembled. And I'm going to back stitch a little bit early because I know I'm going to trim right there based on where it is, and I don't want to trim my back stitches. So and I apologize, I don't usually speak this much, so I'm gonna have to drink something. Okay, let's see. Looks good. I'm checking the zipper end right here to make sure that it got fully encased in that seam, and it looks like it did. If it didn't, it's not the end of the world. We can put a little zipper stop on the top and bottom of the actual fabric of the zipper that would be exposed there, and just mash it with the end of your pliers. I've used the handle of this because you can't get the tips of these in. This is what you would normally use to apply a top stop, but you can't once it's sewn like that, so you can just press it with the end of the handle and it'll smush it. Those stops are like thin metal, so totally not a big deal. Okay, oops, what was that? Something went kaplunk. Okay, so now changing to a 5mm stitch length. Checking my needle here just to feel if I don't feel anything sticky, but again, we're going to top stitch across this seam, and I'm still going to walk my machine over top of the zipper area, okay? And your seam behind there, again, we're not fighting any seams, so this seam is going to stay just like it is, going to the right, okay? So be aware of that. This foot has 3 tines, kind of a little walking foot part, a chunky part, and a skinny part, and I'm using the chunky part against the edge of my seam to be like a built-in edge guide. You can use edge guide feet too. I have them, but I don't find them to help me that much, which is weird. I know. Sounds like, what? Why? They just don't. Okay, and I'm walking my machine here to make sure about my panel edge. Just be careful. Yeah, it did not catch any part of the zipper at all. I didn't feel it. It was possible. If you do, don't panic. It's no big deal. You're just going to apply steady and firm pressure downward on your hand wheel and you'll feel the tooth kind of slip out from underneath and your needle will finish penetrating. Now it's possible that you can get the tip of your needle wedged against a part of the zipper tooth and it just will not budge. Don't force it. Hit your back stitch lever to back stitch up out of it and then try to hand crank forward and get past it. Something about that lets it realign itself somehow to where you can try to get past it. I've broken thread though before trying to do that too, so it doesn't always work, but it is possible. But best policy is to just remove the teeth so you don't even have to worry about it. Okay. Yep, and on this instant, I've had it wind up folding to where this part was longer and just trimmed off the center section, and I think it was in relation to how I stitched the pocket, and then I've had it to where the little side panels are a little extending past, and that's what it is doing on this one. Again, it's no big deal. You're trimming like a fraction. It's, if I had to, and I told you I'm spatially challenged, but to look at it, it looks like it's about 1/8 of an inch off. So just align either, I'm just saying align the top because I feel like that's the most consistent section, and then you can just do your trimming all from the bottom if you need to trim. It could line up perfect and you just don't need to trim anything. That has happened as well. So it's just different materials, different day, different alignment of the planets. I don't know, but it's not a big deal. All right, I'm turning this way this time because it's easier. I don't like my panel to be shoved up against my machine if I don't have to. And then back to the 4mm stitch length here. I think it's a millimeter, I don't know, a number 4 stitch length. In case I'm saying that wrong. Know what I mean, not what I say. That's what my mother used to tell us when we were kids. And she would say something funny and be like, Mom. Okay, same thing. We're starting to get into the danger zone. So, hand cranking. Okay, now right here, I feel a tooth. I don't know if it's gonna let me by. Okay, it did. So steady, firm pressure. It let me past it. Let's see if it broke my thread. I think it might have, but I don't know. I can't tell. There shouldn't have been any teeth there. If there was, it should have only been one tooth. Oh no, you know what it did? Broke my needle. Oh please. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Yep, the needle is in the bottom of the seam right here. See it? Boo. Okay. These needles, the 18 gauge, they're a lot thinner and they break a lot easier. I'm gonna have to snip that out because it's literally with the thread through the tip of it. pray that it didn't make my machine angry. Yep. Oh, boo. Okay. Well, real life. This is what happens. That's why we try to remove those teeth so we don't have that issue. I kind of thought one of them was close, but then I thought, probably okay. It wasn't. No big deal. Luckily, we weren't top stitching when that happened. It was only the bottom stitch. I have had it happen when it's the top also. That was a new needle too. Boom. So we will try to, let me see here. Try to see if I can get away with going back over that. Yeah, there are teeth there for sure. So, literally like I see like 2 teeth that are kind of in our way. That's not great. We can work around it. Let me put this needle back in here. Hopefully I got all the piece of the needle that broke. It looked like it was just the 2 pieces, but never 100% sure. Al, if you're watching, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to tear up the machine, I swear. Al is the machine tech at Sunny. He's great too, by the way. When I first got this thing, I thought I had thread stuck in it, so I got underneath the needle plate and started taking it apart, and I put it back together wrong. And I thought I destroyed the machine because I could not sew over a plastic zipper with it because it kept on seizing up. This has that safety thing, and I was like, oh my lord, I just got this machine, I spent all this money, I ruined it. It wasn't. I put it together wrong. He was sweet about it though. He like, send me videos. So I'm sending him all these videos, and he's like, I don't know, check this, check that. I've checked things. I was like, I don't know what to do. And then finally I like pulled it apart again and re-looked at it, and yeah, it was, so I'm not gonna take the chance of starting way back. Sorry, I'm not hurting the way. I'm not gonna take the chance of starting way back here. I'm just gonna go lower back stitch and try to go back up and over that area and pray that it will let us. I almost want to change my stitch length larger, but I don't know that that would even really help it. I really want the seam to be how it needs to be. We'll see. I'm going to try to stitch like right next to it. Forward, go backwards, just to cinch it down. I feel like it's not going to matter. I mean, metal is metal. It's going to be there. Maybe it's because the zipper already like did whatever. I don't know. It let me get back over it. All right. That's amazing. I thought it was going to give us trouble. It decided to be nice. Now let me see what kind of crazy I did to my seam. Yeah, looks fine. on this part. Let's see what it looks like from the top. Sorry, I really try to police these threads and keep them off my floor because I don't want them in my wheels. Okay, well, I don't see what I did to it, so that's a good sign. Let's take our little folder. I'll try to get this trained some. Using this roller over my zipper area. I don't want to scratch my pretty zipper teeth. Okay, let's go from the bottom here. Back to the 5 for our top stitch. I don't know, should I keep reminding y'all what the stitch length is, or should I just let it go? I don't want it to be like incessant. Will she quit telling us what to do? Same thing though, we're gonna walk. Okay, oh gosh. Whew, hairy. Scary. Makes you better though, right? You do things that you're afraid of. Okay, that is looking amazing. Let's take a look. Let's see if I actually, other threads, see if I actually oriented, I think I oriented my, yeah, I did, okay. Also check again and make sure that you fully encased your teeth on both sides. Look at that. Oh, that is fabulous. Okay. And straight. It's not wavy. Not wavy. No wavy zipper. That's amazing. Okay, now before we do any trimming, going to use our upper exterior, so it's the top panel, I think is all I called it. Same deal, so it's going to be a 3/8 inch mark up and centered in the middle of your panel. Again, you might have some slight overhang on your edges. It's all right. You can trim it off if you do. 3/8 inch side up, right sides together. Your 1 inch section that you're gonna fold down later is pointing downward. This bag is very simple, but it looks very elegant, so I like it. All right, so like this, okay? Stitch across. Construction stitch link. We can back stitch. There could be a little bit of bulk from where that seam folds over underneath there. So we're going to make little notches on this upper top panel to reduce that bulk before we flip it up to do the top stitch. This one I really feel like you should do it because it is a lot of layers at those seams where that zipper unit went together with the side panels. And then now you're adding another layer over top of it. So yeah, do that. We're just gonna make a little notch, like a V out of those. And our triangles out of the corners like before we top stitch. Don't cut your stitch. I save that mainly for myself because, ugh. Okay, and we're clipping that bulk from our upper top panel, not our assembled lower panel. Okay. Triangle. Same thing here. Sorry y'all, my shirt is literally filthy with leather, flesh, dust. Look like a vagabond. Alright, so yeah, this area right here, so you have 1, 2, 3, and then once this goes together, that'll be 4 layers of bulk there. That's a no-no. We don't want that. So just right where that seam's gonna be, that you're gonna stitch across, just nip a little triangle out. Excuse me. Above your stitch line. Just make it easy on yourself and your equipment. Alright, so we took our little bites out of there. Sorry. Dot, 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 and dot. So 4 spots, okay? And then now we're going to flip this up, flatten it out, and we're going to top stitch across this seam at our chunky 1/8 with our squeaky roller. I have a really pretty one. I see Crafty Porter, Amber. She has like this gorgeous rainbow purple fabulous one. I need to find out where she got it from. But I don't know if it would be like stout enough for leather. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. I just have to get it and try it. But I really like it. It's gorgeous. I tried to use her lighter. I bought one. That thing's butane and it's dangerous for me. I just burnt stuff with it. So I was like, no, that lighter's not for me. Also, your seam allowance when you're sewing this is going upwards, okay? Everything in its natural orientation. We're not bending any seams backwards. And we're going to top stitch on that upper panel. Chunky 1/8, 5mm. Let's do it. If you pull, do it gentle. See right there where that bulk would have been? I think if I didn't take that out, I'd probably have to hump jump it. If you're using a lighter machine, you might still have to hump jump it. It's not the end of the world, but I don't want this to be stressy at all. Our next step is going to be to get our hardware located and installed. We're going to punch holes for our feet We are not going to install the feet just yet. We will install the strap connector hardware though. Oh, I love these earth tones together. It's fabulous. Look at that. That is stunning. Okay, y'all, so to put our hardware on, you need some punches because you're not going to be able to punch in this once this panel is assembled with like the little hand punch. I have one that works kind of like a little drill press, so that's normally what I do because hammering makes noise. And so whatever you choose, you need a poly board so that you don't damage the tip of your punch by driving it into a hard surface. And this one's giant. Obviously you wouldn't use one this big, but it's easier for y'all to see at this size. I think I'm probably going to use this 5/32 punch. The way I tell is by the size of this post, I guess, where the screw actually goes into it. You don't want the inside diameter of where the screw goes. You need the outside diameter of where that post piece is, if you can see. So it needs to encompass whatever that thing is that you're trying to, because this needs to fully seat into your leather. Sorry, no manicure, can't help it. My hands are like dry, they're constantly in water. So that's what I recommend to make installing hardware easy for yourself. Use that. I wrote the specific dimensions of where precisely to place. Did I close that? Yep. Where precisely to place, sorry, let me get back in my notes. Your strap connector based on the finished dimensions of the panel. So that's what I'm looking for. Yeah, 4 1/4 inches inward from the raw side edge of your panel. So this raw edge and 4 1/4 inches inward is where you're going to put the outside edge of your connector. I'll remove this poly board for now so we can try to get an accurate measurement. And then even with your top seam on your panel, the top of your connector needs to fall there. If you're using connectors like I'm using, that's what I recommend. Now, you might not want to use external bag connector hardware. Maybe you want to use just the D-rings and do like the hidden D-ring connectors. You can totally do that. I like the connector hardware because I think it elevates the bag, especially if you're making it in leather, but it's not a deal breaker. So choose whatever style connector you wish, but if you were using this hardware, this is where I recommend placing it. And again, it's your bag, so do whatever you like, okay? I am pressing right here where the little screw pieces are going to be in the back because it's going to make an imprint onto my leather so I know where to punch my holes. And I'm attempting to take my silver marking pen and draw those hole impressions with my silver pen. So I have a hope in getting my connector in the right spot when I punch my holes. I have vision issues. A, because I'm old, and B, because I have diabetes. So I wear contacts, but even doing that, I still have difficulty seeing. So yeah, so I appreciate whenever somebody can just suss those things out for me in advance, so then I don't have to like do magic and try to figure it out on my own whenever I'm working off of someone else's pattern. Those are the things I appreciate. So I'm trying to help you the same way. So this is our back panel markings, and we'll do the same on the front. And then we'll start talking about the bottom connectors here in just a second. I'm gonna go ahead and punch these holes. This could be loud. The little plastic on my connector until literally the last second that I can, because these being this wide of a surface area and shiny, this electroplated nickel, it scratches. So I'm trying not to scratch it, but you're just going to take your connector and seat those two little spots that you punched your holes for down inside your little hole, and they should just peep right through. See that? And then you're just gonna put, these come with a little washer. Let me put my bowl back over here like this. A little washer piece, you put that down over top of it, and then also seat some screws. You know what the other thing is that I forgot about these is that I think these screws are on the long side. If they are, I might need to punch some little leather washers to try to cinch them up. One of the things I do like about them is they go on with a regular size screwdriver, not the eensy beensy one. So yeah, let me see. No, these screws are okay. They're not super long. I think it was the bag feet that I was using the other day, and they were like, they had screws that were, I think they were like a 1/4 inch long. So they were super long, and I had to like put 3 layers of the 3 to 4 ounce leather I was working with around it to work as like a shim, just to try to secure it. Okay, now I can see visually with my eye that that is trying to shift in my little hole. So before you fully tighten this down, re-straighten your connector and make sure that it is fully straight, and try to kind of hold on to it while you tighten, because it might try to make it look lopsided and you won't be happy. Stinker. It's kind of just, here, I'm bracing both sides now. They just suit this bag so well because they're all that modern geometric kind of style. So that's so pretty. Now we'll do the same thing on the other side. we need to, oh, let me put my tape. So for our next step, we need to clip the box corners out of our panel. So in all 4 lower corners, so 2 on front, 2 on back, we need to clip those boxes out. I'm cheating, I have a little acrylic tool to use. You can make marks with your ruler. I was thinking about making a set of these. I don't know what I did. That would be like on a little ring or something y'all could use. That way you don't have to try to do weirdness with a ruler. While you're at your sewing table. Okay, I've amassed so much junk over here. 1 second. I'm terribly organized. As you can see by the mess that is. Okay, here we go. Good gravy, Tam. So yeah, y'all let me know if that's anything you're interested in. I thought I could do something like this where you have a little acrylic piece that was whatever side, like this is a 1 3/4 inch tool, so it'll make like I put the 3.5 cut out on there, so it would make like a 3.5 inch box bottom. Good grief, I can't see a thing. You see that? Is that worse? Yes. In 1 hour you'll be able to see it. There you go, on my screen, yeah, like that. Anyway, that's just an idea I had. Y'all let me know if that's anything you're interested in having to use as a tool. Acrylic is pretty cheap, so it wouldn't have to cost a lot. Just the shipping to get it there, that's the thing though. I don't know about that part, but we'll make do. I feel like you can get the little flat rate deals from like the post office, not too terribly expensive, but who knows? We'd have to investigate. Okay, so this, cut out here. You could use your ballpoint pen here. I'm just doing the silver pen so you guys can actually see it. Find my scissors. Yeah, and there might already be a set out there like that. I really haven't even investigated it that heavily. I just thought maybe. I like things that make my life easier. Save your little scraps that you're clipping out. Because if you're doing like I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use this as my recessed zipper placket zipper end. So I was like, what is that actually called? Instead of trying to fit one of those little metal zipper end caps over my metal zipper tape, I'm going to use my leather corner for my scraps. Am I saying that right? Y'all know what I mean. So that I can tie it all together. It'll be all matchy. Now that's another spot though where I have to walk this machine over those teeth to do that. I know, it's a no-no. I told you. You know it's a no-no. I know it's a no-no, but in that one instance is where I usually do it if I'm going to do it at all, and we are going to do that. So, yeah, more drama, more danger. Hopefully it'll be sweet. Sometimes it's the weirdest thing, and I don't know what like determines it. Just luck of the draw where you start your stitch line at, and it just goes doop 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 and goes right over it, and it's nothing. Other times your needle lines exactly up with the tooth, and then it's a pain in your butt. So roll of the dice. Alright, so there's that. Now, I am going to put that aside. We won't need that again. Oh, I'm a liar. We will too. We're going to use that on our lining. But I know where it is now. Let's see if I can keep up with it until that time. May or may not. This one and this one. Alright. And this piece. Okay, now for your exterior construction, when we get to that step, you might want to switch to a matching thread, because it is possible when you do your fold down for your drop-in lining. Sorry, my mind's going like 15 places at once. When you do your fold down for your drop-in lining, it is possible that your stitches might be visible. So if this is going to bother you in any way, then I recommend changing to a matching thread so that it's less visible. So, pro tip, which I may or may not follow. It just depends. All right, we need to put our zipper feet on. So after you've clipped your corners out, this is going to sound like really specific, but because this is a boxed bottom, why does that little, I have my pattern on this phone and I keep closing it out somehow. Anyway, it's going to sound very specific, but that's because you lose a lot of your height when you box this bottom, and I don't want your teeth to be in your feet to be in a funky spot, so we're going to put it in a particular spot. Alright, so those feet are going to be 2 3/4 inch inward and 1 1/8 up. Okay? I know. It's very specific, but there's a reason. Now, it needs to be the 1 1/8 up from the center part. Let's trim this up. So, I have this little extra overhang here and here, so I'm just going to take my silver pen and just straighten this mess up right now. Take my silver pen on my corner. I have a little, I'd say that's not quite a 1/8 extra little chunquita. I'm in Texas, so everything, when you say something little, we have a large Hispanic population that lives here, and everything tiny is ita, I-T-A, chunquita, poquito. Okay, and no, I don't speak Spanish. Well, that's a lie. I speak some words. I speak enough to fool you into thinking that I could possibly speak a little bit of Spanish, and then when you start speaking your full speed Spanish to me, I'm like, So yeah, I need a translator for sure. I'm trying to learn though. I don't like it whenever my patient population comes in and we can't communicate well, and so then I have to get a translator on the phone or a tablet, and most of the time it's pretty good, but sometimes like the connection will be bad, or the particular translator you get, or maybe even the folks that need the translation, their particular dialect is slightly different, so something gets, what they say, lost in translation. Literally that. Sorry, I'm trying to singe these little threads. So yeah, I really wish that I had the ability to speak Spanish much better than I do. I would never be as good as a native speaker, for sure, but it will not be for a lack of trying. So I'm still trying to learn. I have the rest of what's left of my life. All right, so 2 3/4 inches in. So let's get that down. Now I'm gonna take my other ruler, so it's helpful if you have a second ruler so you can butt that up against your first ruler. So 2 3/4, like a little T-square almost, and then 1 1/8. And right there where that matches in the corner is your foot measurement for your little bag feet. Okay, make a mark. Do that on all your corners. But what we're going to do right now is punch our holes in the spots, but we're not putting these feet on just yet. Not enough nice looking hardware. Okay, we need to figure out what punch. Sorry, y'all keep me on task because I'm going to just ramble. So this is also going to go well with the 5/32 punch that we used earlier. So we're going to punch that same size hole. Sorry for the banging. And then we're going to do our drop-in lining, and that's it. No other turning. Okay, so that should be the extent of the banging. Apologies. I wasn't gonna do it, and then I was like, no, you know what? People just need to be able to see, so there it is. That's what happens. And I'm a liar anyway because I also will have to punch holes for my straps later, but that's another story. Those are the only lies, though. They're tiny lies. They're little white lies. Okay, so we want to match our panels right side together, just like that. And you're going to match your cutouts in the corners down here at the bottom as best you're able. What's funny, they don't 110% totally match. They're not off by much, but they are not 100%. Okay, now this is the thing. I'm going to try very hard to get this upper seam to line up and stay lined up. So because I'm going to try very hard to do that, I'm going to put staples. I know a lot of people don't like staples. They're anti-staple. I get it. But I really recommend popping a couple of staples in here just to keep this from shifting. And you're going to do it inside your seam allowance. So you're not punching holes in your panel where it's going to be seen, and you're not putting them where you're going to have to stitch over. So just inside like that, okay? That's it. Now, I know know it's silly that I'm matching these up right now because we're not working on our side seams right now. We're about to work on our bottom seam. But I find I get better results if I do this in advance. Just something about how it all goes together. Okay, so we're gonna stitch our bottom seam. Just pull that off, pull this off. Main thing is making sure your bottom seam is even, right, left, and across. We can focus on fixing a little bit of deviation in our box section in a minute. I'm not doing the top stitched bottom, but I am going to show you where I think you should clip in order for you to do that. Or if you're someone who wants to fold your lower seam out even if you're not sewing it. I'm going to trim mine because I'm not sewing it. Construction stitch length 4 here. I don't want to do it because it does not give consistent results because you have a seam that's going right and left and right and left, and that is because you have pieced panels on the front and the back. And I think that because it's not going to give consistent results, people are not going to be happy with it. And if you're OCD like me and you have a line that's all wavery and weird on the bottom of your bag, you're not going to like the bag. So, and I've done it and clipped, I've glued, I've taped, and then I have also drawn guidelines to sew by because your seams are going to be facing right and left and right and left along the bottom. And your natural, like the way that you naturally sew is you follow your edges or the edge of your foot, or I've heard like different ways. And it's going to make you so crooked if you don't draw a guideline. It just is. Again, the theme of the video, ask me how I know. So I'm omitting that, but I know that some people will still want to do a top stitched bottom, so I left it in the pattern. But I'm team no top stitch bottom, and I think it looks nice without it, and I'm not doing it. Okay. I'm going to take my flathead screwdriver that I use for everything on my lovely machine. They make actual tools to remove staples. I don't own it. I'm just using my flathead screwdriver and pulling them out. If you do this and one end gets stuck, you can also take your little snub nose pliers and just pull it. The stapler I'm using is that Boss Stitch P something something. I wrote it in the pattern specifically. Oh, here it is. It's the SP19-1/4, and I love that thing. I'm gonna see if they'll throw that in my casket when I'm dead because I'm taking it with me. That's how much I love it. So, yeah, no, I'm joking. But seriously, it's a great stapler. I love it because, I'll show you exactly why I love it. This little piece right here extends out, this little plier stapler, so it lets me get like right up to the edge of where I need to, and these staples are only 1/4 inch, so they're tiny. And it's amazing. So, and I've never had any trouble like driving the staples through any material. Leather, vinyl. I don't think I've used it on any fabric, but yeah. Okay, so Team Top Stitch Your Bottom people, this is for y'all and anyone who wants to try to lay their center seam flat. Let's kind of turn this so y'all can, I don't know what's the best way for you to see it. I'm sorry, I'm videoing myself and I don't have anyone help me, so y'all got what you got. We have what we have. We're in this together. Okay, so you're gonna make 6 snips all across the bottom. I show you specifically with illustrations where to do it, but basically they're coming in alongside the edge of where you have folded your material back and done that top stitch. You're gonna snip just to the right of that, inward toward your stitches. Okay, there, here, and the center piece might be still witchy and not want to fold down for you or to open up, and that is okay. That piece you can actually just push flat under your panel while you're top stitching, and it's not that big a deal. And then also so basically everywhere where there's these seams, so here and here on this one and this one on either side there, okay, that's 3, 4, 5, and 6 all the way across. And once you do that and you make those snips, then you can take your panels and open them up and lay them flat and secure them however you wish. If you're a glue person, you can leave your seam allowances at the 3/8 inch and glue these down. But depending on how thick your leather is, like I did it with a medium firm tempered leather once, and oh my goodness, I had to like stack books and heavy stuff on top of it until the glue dried. It was kind of a pain, and then I had to wait like probably more than an hour for that glue to really dry. You don't want to stitch over top of wet glue. A, it won't hold. B, your machine will not thank you. And I don't know, it's just a hot mess. But you can do the 1/2 inch seam allowance and use double-sided tape and snip it. And like I said, flip this over, and on your right side, you're gonna draw yourself a line all the way down on either side of this bottom. And these seams are going right and left now. So part of it's over here, then you get further down the road and it's over there and back and forth, and it's very hard to get a straight line. I don't like the way it looks, and I don't think you're going to get consistent results, and I recommend not doing it. But it's your bag. I made a way for you guys to do it if you wanted to do it. That's how I recommend doing it. I'm trimming the seam down to about 1/8 or so, and that's what I'm doing to it, and I'm leaving it, and we are moving on with our lives and never looking back. So that is my discussion about top stitching the bottom. Okay, and maybe some of y'all are better at this. I'm positive there are people that are better at this than I am, and y'all have a better way. Hit me up in the DMs. I'd love to know. What do you do that makes that doable and not anything crazy and weird? All right, back to our side seams. Again, matching these edges, okay? I want it so that, let me just show you on this bag. Right here, it's a little easier to see. Yeah. I want to avoid this. This is what I want to avoid. How can I trim it? There. It's minor, but there's a little jog between the right and the left, and I really don't like it. I just do not like it. I feel like it's a badly pieced bag whenever that happens. This side did not do it. I'm sure I used staples. It's possible that it will still shift on you, even with the staples. But we're gonna hope that it doesn't. And we're really gonna try to get these lined up. I just feel like it looks so much nicer when it doesn't do that. So, say a little prayer, do a little dance, evoke whatever you need to try to get this to turn out how we intend for it to. Also, when you're using staples, try to put them going the same direction on the same side. I'll show you what I mean by that in just a second. So, we're gonna sew this, and we want these staples all pointing down. Why? Because as your panel's moving forward and you have staples up, the ends of those staples can prick your finger and it really hurts. So try to keep it like that. I'm gonna go through here and just, you can use clips for the rest of this. It's not, you don't need to staple all the way down. I'm just already here, so I'm just doing it. And then we're gonna turn our panel the opposite way when we sew. Really trying to get those lined up so that they don't look funny to my eyes. And this one here. Now we're gonna trim some of this down, but not all of it. So you can't 100% rely on the, well, I'm going to trim it away, so that will eliminate my staples. It could eliminate some of them, but it is not going to eliminate all of them. So just know that when you do it. I'm looking at this right here. This leather is trying to be stretchy down here. Some of these panel pieces got trimmed. That's another thing I forgot to tell y'all. When you're selecting your materials, I bought an entire side of leather and I'm able to get 2 full bags out of that side from this pattern if my skiver doesn't eat any piece while we are skiving. Like this morning, it was eating my straps. Another story. Anyway, when you have your side of leather, I wish I had like a diagram to show y'all, across the back portion of it, where the part where they split the whole hide in half, like think of, you see the little feet that stick out and right and left, up and down for a whole hide. Okay, a side is literally that cut up the middle, okay? Now the middle section of that is your best leather. That is the stiffest. That is where it's not going to stretch as much. That's where they cut belt blanks out of. That's where you should cut your straps out of, because that area of the leather is going to stretch less. The further down you go on that side towards the parts that would be the legs and the belly is the stretchiest leather. So you want to pick parts of your panel that are not going to be subject to, or that you're not going to mind if it stretches a little bit, which in this instance is the bottom of our exterior, because that's going to give you the better results. They sell, or they did sell, I don't know if they still do, in Tandy. You can sneak in there and look at it. You don't have to actually buy the book, but Al Stolman had a book about making saddles, and it was a hardcover book. I don't know if it's still for sale or not, but I'm sure that there's probably other images on Google too. But if you go to Tandy, you can sneak in there and look at that book and check out the chapter where he's discussing and describing the information about the different parts of a side of cowhide. Very informative, and it will help you in things that you're trying to make. Okay, enough of that. Sorry, I get off on it. When you're talking about leather, I love to talk about leather. I told my friend one day I am a leatherholic, and it's probably true. I just love it. Alright, so we're back stitching. We are using a stitch length of 4, and we are going up the side of our panel on our 3/8 inch guideline. Unless you are team bottom stitch, then you're doing a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And it's bag making. There's like a million ways to skin a cat. Sorry, I would never do that. That's not what I meant. It's an expression. Don't report me to PETA or someplace. Might have, you know what I forgot to do here? Bulk reduction. Tammy. Sorry. I was like, why is that? Yeah, because I didn't do it like I was supposed to. It was an adjoining panel right there. Or did I? Let me look. I feel like I did it. Let me peep at my panel. No, I did. It's just bulky from how it's bulking up. Okay. I was about to get mad at me. Yes, I get mad at me. You might have to use your little hump jumper right there. That's going to be one of the thickest areas because you've got both of these panel seams together. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it would be 6 layers, but because of our bulk reduction, it's only 4, but it still does make a little transition point right here. And because I was sewing from the bottom upward, it is also just a lump for you to go up and over instead of, I mean, you still kind of do when you go from the top downward, but I feel like it's less. Okay, and I'm flipping this over because that's where my staple ends are pointed down, so I don't stab myself in the fingers. Same thing. We're gonna do our little side seam. And this is not any different than any other bag you've ever put the sides together and then done a boxed corner on. Very easy. I have another pattern in mind that has a rounded bottom. And even now, after making a million bags and things, I still find that challenging, and I thought, there's no way in the world I'm going to ask people to put together a rounded bottom for their bag off the bat. Like, no. So, it did not get incorporated, because typically for this kind of construction where you have piece panels like that, a rounded bottom would be easier to sew if you are good at sewing curved bottom panels. Okay, I said that right. Here we go, up the bulk. I'm gonna speed up, give it a little juice there. You can also use your hump jumper. You just want to avoid your machine kind of trying to march in place at that spot, because it can create perforation issues. Okay, now I'm seeing what I just did here. I stopped too soon. From here, I actually stopped on this edge too soon, and it's going to create an issue when we go to turn our panels out. So I'm going to go back over that. because those stitches will start to peel apart. So make sure you sew all the way off. When you do your, all the way off your edge, so it doesn't split when you try to turn it. And it's not really good to go back and forth over your edges where you're going to be turning like that, but it was unavoidable. Yeah, I think I actually did that on both corners. Let me just peek at it. Okay, that's all right. This though, I did, but just by like 1 or 2 stitches on this other corner. Let me just fix it. Just don't like problems. I try to avoid them if I can. Off, back stitch. Okay. Let's make sure that that is totally gone over. Alright, so it is about to be time for us to box our lower corner. Sorry y'all, I told you I'm slow. I'm gonna take these staples out. Take them out of this side first. It's already facing us. Then we can kind of, well, we'll box our, actually, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to put down some foam here before we go much further. Because this panel is so soft, we need to put some foam on it to make it not, give it like that structured look and not sag. Gotta add some foam. You might have difficulty with foam across this because I don't know how well it's gonna want to stick to it, but we're gonna give it our best. Try and see. I thought this was like EVA foam, but it almost looks like partially open cell foam. Maybe EVA is open cell. I thought EVA is kind of more dense. I think this is 1 millimeter. I'm not 100%. It's kind of got this funky texture. What I like about it is it's self-adhesive. So I don't have to apply heat or anything to my panels, and my mind makes me think like maybe it's for an automotive purpose. So yeah, that's what I think in my head anyway. So we want to keep this out of our seam allowance, but I do want it to go up on this upper panel a bit, just to give that some structure too. So I'm probably literally going to go to the edge of where I have skived up here, in from these side seams and away from where the, I'm not even going to go where the box bottom is because we'll fit another piece of this down inside of that area. So let me just Okay, y'all. Sorry, I had to go and cut some little shims for my bag feet. So I'm just reaching inside my exterior and putting that little post up through the hole that I punched. And then because the screws are so long and my leather is so thin, I'm using some leather scraps, like 3 of them, 3 layers, as a shim to try to just firm it up so that it actually seats with the exterior and there's not like a big gap there. If your materials are thicker, you probably wouldn't need to do that, but these are on the thin side, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it. And I'm doing these now before I put the foam down because I think it might be harder once it's on. Like, I don't think the foam is even gonna extend here, but I don't know. Just want to avoid issues in case. So we'll just cinch this up. You can put Loctite on yours to keep them from backing off. I'm not, but you totally can. Mainly because I don't remember where I put it. I think I know where it is, but I don't want to look for it. We're just doing a little tutorial, plus this will probably be my bag, and I'm not going to cry if it comes off. I will just slice a hole in the lining and go back in and fix it, but that will leave a seam in the bottom of your lining, so you might not ever want to have to encounter that. So put Loctite, okay, or the equivalent. It's not an endorsement for Loctite, but something to keep your screws from being able to come back off once they go on. I'm sure your customers will appreciate it. Dang near anything on a bag that messes up can be fixed, save for like a giant gash in your exterior maybe. And you have to like totally piece the whole thing apart and switch it out. Really wasn't sure like how many shim pieces I was gonna need, so I just cut like a bunch and punched. Use the same size punch to punch your hole. Helps if you already have the screw in your hand. If you're trying to be multitasking, kinda. I am. And these little warm tones are so pretty together. This would be a good bag for fall. Okay. There's that. Let me take a look and see, are they quasi straight from one another? And they are. You can tweak them once you flip your exterior. So now we're going to talk about these sides right here. We're going to do something funky. We're going to trim our side. Try to line this so you can actually see. From down here upwards, we're going to veer out at about 1.5 inches from this top edge and clip that section off on both sides. Okay. Doesn't have to be all the way down to your bottom, but so about half your seam allowance width on your side. If you're doing 1/2 inch, you really want to trim it down to a chunky 1/8, okay? And that side seam is going to be thick too. Snip through at this junction where all those layers are. So use good sharp scissors. Now we have this left. It's like this little sticking out there. Now we're going to make 3 snips. We're going to make one at 1/2 inch down from our top edge, one at our 1 inch turn line, and then up underneath this. You're going to have 2 snips there, but you're going to trim away that extra underneath. The reason for that, so you're snipping just straight inward towards your stitches, but don't cut your stitches in both those spots. Just like that. So now you have a seam. I'm trying to get this so y'all can actually see. A seam that, there you go, that has 2 snips, so it's 3 nubs sticking out. 1, 2, 3. This little nubby, we're taking this bulk out of here because when we flip all this stuff over and we do our hammering, that bulk has to have some place to go. So we're gonna make diagonal, is your terminology correct? Snips inward towards our stitches, but not cutting our stitches in all 3 of those spots. So 1, pull it out. 2, pull it out. And 3, pull it out. So now you should have something that looks like a little, there you go, like a sawtooth scenario going on there. Do that on the same, do that the same on the other side, and you're also going to do this same steps on the lining. Okay, so trim up the side, veer out at 1.5 inches ish. This does not have to be exact math, except for where I tell you to make the snips inward. That's kind of important. You do that part. Eyeball well for that section, okay? Like that, and out. Okay, have our snips inward, and then make your little diagonal chunkitas off. You can cut better than me and you won't have to pull so hard to get your chunks out like that, okay? Simple, easy. But this makes it to where we can get that bulk out and actually turn this side seam so that it's not a nightmare. It's important. All right, so now we need to start doing our turn down. We're fixing to flip this inside out, but it's easier to work this section while it's still inside out. What did I just say? We're fixing this. Oh my God, we are about to, I need like a bloopers reel. We are about to fold this, turn this right side out. but it's easier to work while it is still inside out. There. You can do it. Okay, so you're gonna put a 1/4 inch piece of double-sided tape right along your stitch line. Front and back, both corners. And I don't know about how long it looks like, 1 1/8 maybe. Could be less. Could do 1 inch. It's fine. These are going to be used to hold those little notches open. That's what this tape is. Now, if you're working with leather and your flesh side of your leather is very fibrous and loose, you may need to put this tape down and then pull it back off and then put new tape, kind of like waxing it. Like when you get your eyebrows waxed, you're going to need to get those fibers off because it won't hold and it's going to frustrate you if you don't. So put it down, test it out. If it won't hold your little wings open, peel the tape off and do it again. I've had some hides, especially closer to the belly you get, and also the more inexpensive the piece of leather, it seems like, the more fibrous and messy the back is, the flesh side. And yeah, so alright, so now we're going to peel the backing off of our double-sided tape in these corners on both sides. And try to get where y'all can see, take those wings that we did, the little saw teeth, and open them up flat. I'm gonna say I saw Sincerely Jen do this on her Rachel tote bag. Yeah, like that. Okay. Just like that. And you're going to do that on both corners. If this little mosquito doesn't find something else to do. We had a lot of rain, but then now it's kind of dried up, and I don't know, I guess they're hungry. And somehow I have them in my house. My husband runs in and out the door a lot, and we also have little dogs that like to run in and out and take forever to come back in. So yeah, who knows? Could have been me. I'll take responsibility. All right. So there, your little side area. Turn it so people can see, Tam. Should be all split apart like that and stuck down. Next, we're going to take our 1/2 inch double-sided tape. And we're going all around the edge above that 1 inch line. In my instance, it's falling where my phone is at because I lined it up with that. Hopefully you're working with leather that's thicker and you didn't have to fiddle with doing foam and all that mess. Or you have something better to like interface with that will not wrinkle when you turn it. But you use what you have. Now, I am going to overlap this, but I'm not overlapping directly at that corner. I don't want to give that corner anything extra to be ticked off about. So when I do my overlap, it's further towards the main part of my panel, not those. Yeah, so if your machine is fine with tape, then maybe that's not a thing for you, but I just feel like it's extra, something extra for it to get fussy with. All right, so remove the backing from your tape layer, and then now we're going to begin folding our sides inward. I start at the corner. I'm trying to get here. And when I'm folding this, I don't press right here from where these stitches are. Press. This is hard. Okay, here, we'll do this. You press inward up underneath and do that fold so you're not putting as much tension on those stitches. Okay? We are going to hammer this later. I'm not hammering right now. And just get it started a little bit. Going down the lane like this. And then do your other corner, your other side seam, before you start doing the middle. So folding from underneath the middle, and that seems to help make it to where your stitching there doesn't want to pull as much. I have noticed. And then once you get that started, then I kind of go to the middle section and then try to work outward. If your materials are real soft, you might find that you get a little wrinkle. Just try to flatten it out the best you're able to. Biggest deal is trying to make this edge as even as possible all the way around. And the same thing on your lining, because it's gonna matter when you do your top stitching. You'll notice if you have like a big deviation where it's like up and down and up and down. So just try to make it as straight across as you're able to. And you're at the mercy of your materials here and how well your skiver felt like skiving your panel and all that. So just do the best you can, and that'll be good enough. Okay, there. Fabulous. So now it should just look like that. Okay, so now we're gonna turn our exterior right side out. When I do this, I see my camera's trying to stagger. When I do this, I usually go from my corners and I try to just grab and slowly do my turning. This leather isn't real interested in being turned because it likes to wrinkle, and I know this. So we're just gonna pray for grace and do the best we can. Straight out, try to do this as swiftly but gently as you're able to, because the longer leather stays folded up in a funky way, the more likely it is to get a permanent crease that won't come out. Okay. I'm seeing that this is making a funny little wrinkle where my foam adhered in not a perfect way, so let me straighten that out. Hopefully I'll find out in a second. That's the drawback of using foam on something soft. Yeah, it's trying to like make a little weird bubble over here. I have to try to give it an attitude adjustment. This almost reminds me of garment leather. It folds that softly. Like a jean jacket, like a leather jacket thickness. Almost like that. Not entirely, but close. Yeah, see, there's a jog on my side seam over here. Even though we did all that stapling, I mean, it is minimal, but it is there. Okay, let me see how to do this. I see you. I see you. And then on the back panel, I might have to pull this foam out if it's going to be weird. I might just have to let it be slouchy, because I'd rather slouchy than weird. I don't want weird. No. It's accentuating my side panel seam back here. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm too close to the project and need to walk away and come back. Sometimes it is that. Sometimes it's not. I used this in the other one that I did with the black and gray contrast, and it did not do that. So maybe this particular hide was a little bit softer than the one I used before, I feel like. Okay, let's see how it settles. Yeah, the sides are not atrocious, so I'm not upset, but this is our exterior so far. This will also firm up once we, that little connector's like, no way, lady. Once we get our interior into it and get it all top stitched, it will serve to support it some, but not incredibly so. It is pretty though. Okay. Let me put my little piece of foam. I'm just gonna fit this piece of foam down in the bottom. I'm not gonna adhere it, I don't think. Look at my feet. Let's see, are they funny? No, they're okay. This was supposed to be a long piece right here. She's gonna be a showstopper. Let's measure visually. I don't want this all the way to the seam, just close. So that right here. I think, did I stick it down in the bottom of that other bag? I think I did. Yeah, okay. I'll stick it down. I wasn't gonna. Every bag is different. I don't care if you're using the same material. Every bag is, whoa. Every bag is different. It's like a tumbleweed, but wrapper. And it is definitely arts and crafts, without a doubt. Okay, so that's our interior there. Nothing wild. Just foamy. Okay, so next up is our lining. You are halfway done.